Just going to give you a little bit of context. A few weeks ago I made a video questioning some of the language people use to describe rope scenes, where one person would deliberately contort the facial features of their partner, often calling it ugly rope or their partner grotesque in their temporary appearance. I questioned whether people would still use the same language if they knew how many people in the world experience facial disfigurement, and the intensity of the effect it could have on their lives. I've never had so many responses to a video, and one of the things that bothered me was the feedback that some people said they didn't feel right doing it after seeing my video. Inspired by this, I want to talk about why your kink will probably offend someone, but why that's okay. People don't choose their kinks, and everyone has different associations related to language. Stepping back from the current topic and considering kink in general, so many scenes rely on taboos and actions which are deeply traumatic out of context. Bondage can be hot, but binding someone against their will is inhumane. Impact play can be hot, but hitting someone can be the cause of lifelong trauma. This is BDSM, we're not stroking kittens here. We're utilising potent actions to create what are hopefully positive experiences. By doing BDSM, you've decided that certain actions, which are so often used to damage and destroy, can, with care, create positive outcomes. But they're still potent actions whether we're hitting someone with a paddle or calling them disgusting. The only thing that makes these actions ethical are the framework you create around them, the training, the consent, the negotiation, the aftercare. It's your right to do whatever you like with your sexuality, but it's your responsibility to moderate how you affect others. Should you feel bad for using the terms ugly or grotesque in your play? Definitely not. Concepts like ugliness and so many of the other taboos we play with are hard-coded into our society and media. Consider the formative stories we're told, how much the ugliness of villains is emphasised in children's stories. Take Jafar from Aladdin, Scar from Lion King, Ursula from The Little Mermaid. How much do they physically deviate from their much more anatomically average main characters? What do most Batman villains have in common? There's a strong hint that their physical deformation, which most of them have, has somehow corrupted their moral character. Whether they're born abnormal or that they've had some horrendous accident, there's a strong association between decayed outer appearance and inner corruption. So if society has been teaching us that physical abnormality equals bad, can we integrate that into our consensual scenes? Even take deliberate inspiration from it? Because is it inherently worse than anything else we do? Absolutely not. So is it always right to use hurtful terms? Well, often it comes down to values, and that requires a little bit of nuance. If I said, when there's a man and a woman in a relationship, the only way for that relationship to work is for the man to take charge, I won't have many followers for very long, because I assume most of my followers don't share those values. Now, I theoretically have no issues in a consenting environment personifying those traits. I might put a play partner on display because that's what they're good for, or put them in the corner because they're not smart enough to make decisions. But once the scene ends, I go back to treating play partners in a way that's in line with my values. Now, will I take a photo from that scene, post it on social media, and write a caption that implies that that's all she's good for? Probably not. If I did post that, would most people know I'm not being serious, or that I'm just implying some of the themes from the scene? Maybe. But to remove the potential for doubt, I don't do it. You'll even notice that in a lot of porn, there's a trend towards showing the negotiation and wind down from a scene. The core content is still as unapologetic as ever, so what drove this change? There's an awareness that people either want to see that so that they can enjoy an ethical wank, or the creators like me don't want to give the casual observers the impression that I walk into a room and throw people over my knee, because we might be their first interaction with BDSM. So back to ugly rope. Think about a post where, say, a model posts a pic of their face that's been distorted and they're saying, "My partner made me ugly and gross today." Do I have an issue with them doing that scene? 100% no. Do I have an issue with them posting a picture of it? Not really. But do I think they'd feel differently about their choice of language if they knew that the people around them had had painful surgery to get over that? Or experienced abuse because they once looked like that? I don't know. That's why I made the video. So, isn't calling people beautiful, hot, or stunning just as problematic because of the implication that there has to be an opposite? When I first thought about this, it felt a lot like when a computer freezes up and you can't do anything. But in the previous example, there's a more direct association, because we're saying face looks like X, then that equals ugly and grotesque, which then implies that those people are less valued, maybe less welcome, and the experience of living through the baggage of that is somewhat dismissed. I'd say that when I'm using the term beautiful, I'm using it in a multifaceted way. Physical appearance can be a factor, but so can poise, openness, genuineness, humour, generosity. However, my recent back and forth with people about my last video has revealed a lot. For example, the way that being called beautiful can feel like a reduction of one's inner values, and being called beautiful for a photograph from a time that's passed can feel painful. It raises a greater question of how can we value ourselves in bodies that change, in a world of subjective opinions about us, when we're balancing our own needs with the needs of others, when we're inherently social creatures, constantly sharing parts of ourselves because we want to connect or be seen. How can we value ourselves? Well, maybe we should place more value on traits that remain with us throughout our lives, such as our openness, our experience, our awareness, our empathy. Alright, I'm done. Thank you to my patrons for making this video possible. If you like this video and you want to keep them going, check out the rewards you get over on my Patreon. Before we part ways, if you're interested in ethical kink and how we agree to do horrible things in a consensual way, check out this chat I had with the fetish model Erin Rose. Thank you. Bye bye.